Hello, we're live. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. You're here at Ray Reads. My name is Reagan, if you don't already know that. And this is the Prose Before Bros book club, where me and Carah and our guest host, our guest host Mare, are going to talk about a book tonight, and we're going to be talking about Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris, and we're really excited to talk about this. So I guess everyone can just go around and introduce themselves.
I can go first. Hello, everyone. I am Mare from the channel Mare Reads, and I don't know what you want me to say about myself, but I am so happy to be here and to be a co-host today.
Hi, I'm Carah. With my YouTube channel is Books with Carah, and I have thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts, so I'm excited to get into them. Also, Reagan, literally, I just got the notification.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Wait, also, I can't see any comments. Did we figure that out?
Oh yeah. So on the right side of your screen, there should be a little tab that says private chat, but click on comments.
Oh my god! Okay, I can see that.
Okay, and then you can comment back from your phone. But yeah, so I'm really excited because something that me and Carah always do is we never tell each other what we're thinking because we want to hear it for the first time on the live show. So last month was really interesting, but I'm super excited. So welcome if you're here. I'm going to put up this banner. So we're going to start off with just kind of some non-spoilery thoughts. We can rate the book and just kind of talk about what we thought, if we have any thoughts at all. So does anyone want to start, or do they want me to start?
I want you to start. I'm curious.
I want you to start because I did last time, didn't I?
Okay, fine. I can go first. I don't know what your opinion is going to be because last time with Lock Every Door, you rated it a 5 and I rated it a 2.
No, I gave it 4.
Oh, 4? Okay.
Yeah.
So it was just very different. Okay. So can I tell mine? Okay. Okay. So I rated it a 3. But I think that after we discuss things, I'm probably going to go down to a 2.5 or a 2.
Okay, that's actually better than last month.
I know, and we'll discuss why.
Okay. Mare, do you want to tell them what you rated it?
Sure. I gave it a 2.5, which means I think that this book was middle of the road average because, the middle of 5 is 2.5. So, I mean, I didn't hate anything about it, but I also didn't love anything about it. I think that it was just okay for me, and it's very forgettable. So I probably won't think about this book much after this live show.
Yeah. I also gave it 3 stars. So there's kind of a consensus here. I know. Well, I kind of had an advantage because I had already read this book before. And so it was really funny because when I finished it, I went on to Goodreads to go, mark it that I'd read it again. And I had reviewed it or rated it the first time. And also, are you guys getting a feedback?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Is anyone playing the thing? Hang on. Okay, well, that's really cringy, but we're just gonna keep moving forward. So anyways, I went back to go put that I had read it, and it said that I had given it 5 stars the first time, but that was before that was before I knew that, or I knew how to rate and review books, and also I think the first time I read it, it was just for pure enjoyment, like I said with the first book, and I was like, oh, I enjoyed it, and so I gave it 5 stars because I did not know how to rate books, but I definitely gave it 3 stars this time. So do you guys want to just kind of talk about what you liked, what you didn't like? That's not spoilery?
Not spoilery.
Kind of hard because I feel like, I don't know, this is one of my other qualms with the book is that like there's not like any huge plot twists, I feel like, or there's not any huge like shock value moments. So it's kind of hard to say like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just saying, yeah.
I was going to say that I don't necessarily think that a thriller, or I guess I wouldn't really classify this as a thriller, has to, have a shocking twist to be considered of that genre. And so, like, while maybe I personally prefer my books to have twists in them, I'm not going to, like, knock it for not having that because it doesn't need it. But I think that, like, my biggest part of why I didn't specifically care about this book is because I didn't care about the characters. And that's hard to say when, there's a huge situation like this, but like, I just didn't empathize with the protagonist. And so why would I care about their situation? Not that I shouldn't care about their situation, but like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I could have cared more if I had actually cared about them.
No, yeah, I 100% agree. I think they are kind of like, I don't know. I feel like we didn't get enough of, the book was really short, but I mean, and like, praise the Lord, because like, I didn't love it, but also like, I feel like if it was longer, maybe it could have been a little bit more developed, but I just feel like we didn't get enough of Grace's character beforehand. Like, I don't know. I didn't love her much the whole time. So I kind of see where you're coming from there with that.
It's funny that you say it's so short because like, I think about how long this book took me to read and it felt eternal. Like the audiobook was maybe 8.5 hours long and I had it on like 2.5 times speed. And it probably took me like a week and a half, 2 weeks to finish because I just was not interested in it.
Yeah, it took me really quick, but I listened to it as well. And I just like followed along. So I turned it up to like almost 3 times speed. But
I don't know. I feel like I was flying through it because I was like, what's going to happen at the end? But that's all I'm going to say because we're on the non-spoiler thoughts right now.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of just, it was just an okay book for me this time around. I was really expecting to be impressed like heavily again because the first time I was like, that was so good. But obviously I was just a noob and I didn't know how to.
I feel like you weren't like a critical reader, like now
like I don't read thrillers often, so I don't really know how to review them, but it's fine. All right, are you guys ready to move into spoiler thoughts?
Sure.
Okay. So if you have not read this book and you don't want to be spoiled, please exit the building unless you want to stay because that's also fine too, but we're going to be discussing spoilers. So
bye.
Thank you for coming. If you are leaving, we love you. Okay. Okay, does anyone want to just start us out?
I will. Okay. So, you know how it goes from present to past. I was so confused the first time when it went to past. I was like, because it was being read like not in a past, I don't know, past tense. I was just really confused. The thing with this book is that we know the twist at the beginning. You know what I mean? So it's like the whole book is just like following that and seeing how that plays out, which is interesting. And that's kind of why I think I gave it 3 stars because it's something I haven't seen a lot. And specifically like mysteries or thrillers, usually the twist or whatever, the like super horrible things at the end. Whereas this was given away like the second chapter and something, and maybe this is my fault, but on the back of the book, for some reason, I thought we were going to be reading from a third person's perspective and then seeing the couple through their eyes instead of like following Grace the whole time. I wonder if the book would have been better if we were following not Grace, but that's just my opinion about that.
I think this book would have been cool from like a third person's perspective and like to not be from Grace's point of view at all and like them seeing from the outside in what actually happens, behind closed doors. But funny that you mentioned that. I actually didn't realize that the ending was spoiled when I was reading it because I was looking at reviews, like I said right before this, and they were like, oh, you know what happens in the end from the beginning of the book? And I was like, wait, you too? And I like just did not remember that that happened, I guess. And it still didn't shock me because I was like, of course, this is what's going to happen. So.
Yeah, I do remember her making some kind of comment about like, I didn't think it was going to be hard to kill Jack or something like that, where she like mentions killing him at the beginning. And so I think like it was I think B.A. Paris, her intentions with that wasn't to spoil it. It was supposed to be like a hint, but it was just like way too obvious. And like, clearly that's how the book is going to end. But now that you say that, Carah, I totally see that. The back is written in, it's like Jack and Grace, this and this and this, he and she. It's not like, it's not from the perspective of Grace, which is really confusing because I feel like that's really misleading. But I agree. I think it would be really cool if it was from a third point of view perspective. That would be very interesting.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I feel like I'm in Zoom class, like, you know, when you like speak to someone. But yeah, I was just gonna say I think the marketing for this book wasn't done well, honestly. And I feel like this is what happened the last book. The marketing of it was not what I was expecting. So then I went in it with like misleading like perceptions and I ended up hating it. So that's just my spiel about book marketing.
I was going to say that I actually don't think that like the market, like I didn't go in seeking like the book summary because every time I had been told about this book, everyone was like, don't read the book summary, just like go into it blind. And so that's kind of what I did. And so I don't necessarily know if like the book summary was meant to, like if it was from Grace's point of view on the back, I think it would have given too much away because you're trying to figure out like what her situation is and, you know, like what actually happens behind the scenes. And if it's from her perspective and she's explaining like how would you do that, I guess, from her perspective without giving too much away is my question.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it could be like super vague. Like I've seen some backs of books that have like 2 sentences on it and it's just like, this is my life now. Like, how did I end up this way? Like, well, you know, like, I don't know. I think that they could have done it in a really broad way, but I get what you're saying at the same time. But I do think it is important if you do go into this book to not read the back because like, obviously once you read the back, you know that like, he's a psycho or like the marriage is not perfect. So yeah, I don't know, but thanks, Niddy. So anyways, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, but I do have a spoiler thought. Well, actually, I guess it's not really a spoiler thought at all. I guess I could have said this earlier, but basically, something that bothered me about this book, which like really damaged my, my like review or my rating on this book is I just felt like, I don't know. I felt like it wasn't realistic enough for it to be like scary enough or like to be thrilling enough. Like, I like made a comment. Let me see where I can find the exact point, but I was reading and it was like, I knew what was coming. And also like probably anyone who's reading this book knows what's coming is that like once they leave for Thailand, like he's going to be a psycho when they get there. But, so I knew that was coming, but when they're on their way to Thailand for the honeymoon, he like, I don't actually know for sure. I don't know, but they're about to leave and she like wants to go see her sister because her sister's like in the hospital. And Jack is like, do you want to call your parents or something like that? And like, she calls them and they don't answer, which like, if they would have answered, I feel like the book would have just gone a different direction. Or like when he pushed Millie down the stairs, like, what if Millie wasn't unconscious when she got to the bottom? Like that kind of stuff, like just the what ifs is like, it was so convenient for him the whole time to lay everything out and like set it up so perfectly. And like, even like towards once they get to Thailand and he's like starting to predict like what she's going to do next, which like I could maybe believe that a little bit more because I think people can be easier to read. And if you're a psycho, like you can maybe predict these things, but I don't know. Some of it was just too convenient for me to believe that like it was scary. Like I wasn't like, not that this book is supposed to be scary, I guess, but like it wasn't thrilling enough for me because I was like, this is just so coincidental, like that it happened this way, that it would work out so perfectly for Jack. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, well, and to your thought about how like he knew her every move, I didn't find that believable because they had only been dating for what? Like
2 months?
Like 2 or 3 months. And I'm like, you can't possibly know how this woman is going to react if you've only known her for 3 months. Like, so that was like, didn't like that. So that made the believability not great. Another thing that was not believable to me was the way that she killed him. Like, well, the initial way, like how she drugged him, everything had to be perfectly, you know, how she like had to sneak the pills into the thing.
And it had to all be at the right time.
Yeah.
Because, like, otherwise it would have failed.
Yeah, I will say though, I think that the way that he ends up dying is kind of like badass because like maybe that's a bad word for that, but like because the dog died that way, and so they're kind of like comparing how he's a dog, and he also died the same way that he killed an innocent animal. So I thought that was kind of cool. But I think the only part that was scary about this, I feel like this book just reminds me of like a Criminal Minds episode, is the red room in the basement. Like that was the only thing that I was like, yeah, about. Everything else I was like, okay. So yeah.
Oh, I had another thought and I forgot it. Oh, something that I thought was going to happen when I was reading this, I think I thought the first time I read it, and then when I was reading it the second time, I was like, I didn't really remember all the details. And so I was like, I think this is the direction it's going to go again. And I fooled myself yet again. But basically, the way I kind of like wish that this book had gone was, remember when Jack like gets the book from Esther and he like brings it inside and she has like shaded like a little. Okay, well, it was Jack, obviously, and he was trying. Okay, yeah, I know. So
we gotta talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. So what I kind of wish had happened was that it really was Esther, and that she was like picking up on this, and like noticing that something was wrong, and that would have just been such a cool way to like signal to somebody without signaling Jack that like something's wrong. And I just was hoping that like when she got to the dinner party with Esther, she could be like, say something to like trigger that, and then Esther would like know what she was talking about, and then they were just gonna work together, like get rid of this man, and like it was just gonna be a whole moment. But literally nothing came of it until the very end. And then at that point I didn't even care, because I was like, why do we even need Esther here at this point? Like I wish she would have been the catalyst to like get her out of this situation. I don't know. For me, that would have just made it better. I think it is cool that she like killed him on her own, but I wish that there was like, it would have just made it a little more thrilling, in my opinion, that she would have had to like sneak around with Esther, like to figure it out. I don't know.
I have a question. Was it ever like confirmed that Jack was the one who wrote in the book?
No.
Because I know you thought
that it was.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
I wish I could find it. I wish I could find it, but she does say, just like you wrote in that book, and he was like, I knew you'd be too smart for your own good. You're starting to catch on to like my schemes or something.
I thought okay, I do remember that, but I thought,
I think it could be a little bit open-ended there. Like maybe he just like went with it.
Yeah, so he didn't look stupid in her eyes. That's how I interpreted it.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't know if it was actually Esther that did that, but like part of me wants to believe that it was because of the ending. So I don't know.
I don't know, but I definitely agree with you, Reagan. I think that this book would have been totally different if Esther, because like, what is her purpose in the book? Like
up until the very end.
Right, like, until the very end, where she's just like, yeah, and you did that, like wink, wink. And it's like, okay, like we don't, like it just would have been really cool, because I agreed. Like I think the shading in the book, never would have thought of that. Like that was shocking to me. I was like, oh, that's so cool. I don't know. I don't think Jack's smart enough to do that. Jack thinks he's really smart, but I don't think he's that smart.
I know, but he was like, when he got the book, he was downstairs for like an hour before he brought it up. And she was like, I don't know. I think at first she was like, oh, it's Esther. And then she was like, well, it could be Jack. And then she was like, he was downstairs with the book for like an hour before he brought it up.
But it was just so like, what was the purpose of the book then? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nothing happened with it. It was just
That's true.
it was just
But
either
that's why I think it was Jack, because I think it was another way for the author to show us like he is so like he already anticipates her next steps all the time, like every single.
How? Like, can he really predict every single
like he's not God.
I don't think so, but I think that the way that she wrote the book, she made it written that he did anticipate, or almost did anticipate every single move she made, and like did things to like mess with her psychologically. And so I think like because nothing did come of the book, like I feel like, I don't know. I feel like for me, if it was Esther, she would have maybe said something at the end to like tie it back together, or because nothing came of it with Esther. So that's what makes me think it was just another way for the author to show us that Jack was just like messing with her psychologically. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and then another part of the book that I did not like was the fact that we were just supposed to believe that like no doctor would take her seriously.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, okay, maybe that is actually true. Like the first thing that popped in my head was Jane Eyre, and I don't want to spoil Jane Eyre. I'm gonna not. I want to talk about it. But just how the tendency usually for men to not believe women, but like she asked for help multiple times to multiple different people. Really, like no one's gonna try and even like follow up with her. Like that was kind of like, I don't believe that.
I mean, maybe they did, and she didn't know because she didn't have any like form of contact with anyone. So I mean, like,
but like I feel like even like in the hotel in Thailand when she goes down and she talks to the lady like at the desk, and she's like, "Oh, I'll walk you to your room," like, and then like she's in the bathroom, which, oh my God, what an idiot. I literally hate her in that moment. I'm like, get out. You do not need your luggage. Like, what do you need in there that is worth your life? Like, leave and call the police. But she's like, oh, I'm going to go shower. Like, what?
Yeah.
That pissed me off. I was like, you're an idiot. You just die.
And then the author's just like, or what's her name? What's her main character? I don't even know her name.
Grace
is like, oh my God, I shouldn't have gone back for my luggage. And it's like, you couldn't have thought of that like 20 minutes ago. Like,
yeah, that bothered me. But when the lady took her up to the room and she's like, I'll wait here, whatever, or like she's just waiting to escort her out. Like, and Jack comes in and the lady's still not concerned about the fact that like when he's like, I can take it from here. Like, what? And then she doesn't see her leave the hotel. Like, I don't know. Some of that I'm just like, even if it was my job, if I worked at a hotel and a girl came down there and was like acting all frantic like that, like even by like people that are around, like just passerbys, like would they not have been concerned? I don't know.
Yeah. I had other thoughts, but I didn't know if you wanted to move on.
No, go ahead, share.
Okay, so one thing I wanted to talk about was, so you know, like I feel like the only part we could call maybe the climax of the story is when she flies to Thailand after killing him, but like but she talks like in the thing she talks like, oh, I wonder like what if Jack gets on the plane and he's like coming after me, like the author is trying to convince us that Jack is still alive so that when we find out that Jack is dead it's a surprise, but it's like but then knowing that he dies, it's like you can't just trick us and be like, oh, he's alive. But you know what I'm saying?
She could have tricked us if it was third point of view, but because first point of view, she's not actually thinking those things. Like on the plane, she's not worried that Jack is not going to get there on Tuesday. Like obviously she knows he's dead. Like, I don't know. I didn't like that either.
So what was that? Didn't make any sense to me. Yeah, I think if we talk about characters next, I really would love to talk about Millie because
same. We haven't talked about her at all.
Yeah, she's my only character I like in the story.
Same. Okay, do you guys watch The Office?
Yes.
Okay, you know the episode where, oh my God, what's Kevin's like, why use long word when short word do tricks? That's literally Millie when she talks. I love it. Okay.
I love her.
Let's talk about Millie then. Do you want to start our discussion on Millie?
Me or Mare?
I have no thoughts, so.
Mare's like, I gave this book 3 stars.
2.5.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah. Okay. So just my thoughts on Millie. I mean, she's awesome. Like, she was the mastermind behind killing Jack, and the whole like us finding out the backstory of the George Clooney thing. Like, I thought that was cute, like a cute thing between her and Grace. I just think that I don't know. I just really liked her as a character, and something though is what I think about when Jack saw Grace and Millie like in the park, and like he knew at that moment that he was gonna like trick her into like, like I just thought that part was kind of weird, because I'm like, a sister that is able to take care of her autistic sister is somehow like your perfect scheme, like someone to scheme with. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know like where he was going with that. Like,
yeah,
if he just wanted like somebody who was autistic, or if he just wanted somebody who was like easy to scare. I don't know. Why go to the trouble of marrying someone
yeah,
to their sister, which you have to live with your wife for like a year and a half before you can even get access to Millie. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird. The more I think about it, like, why go through all those hoops? Like, I
right.
guess maybe he wanted Millie specifically, and like that's the only way he felt like he could get to her. But like, how do you make up that plan on the spot? Like,
Right.
Yeah, and then like to clarify, like, so he wanted Millie the whole time, and he wanted Millie because Millie wouldn't be able to like fight back, which obviously isn't true, because she basically is the one who killed him, or not killed him, but like made up the plan. So it's an interesting like almost like commentary on what people perceive disability, and how people who are disabled in that way like are actually a lot smarter and more capable than a lot of people think.
yeah, I think a lot of like the themes with this book is essentially, like appearances are deceiving, because everyone thinks like Jack and Grace are someone that they're not, and that Jack is this esteemed defense attorney, whatever he does.
Oh yeah.
How Millie is, so much smarter than everyone perceives her to be. So I definitely do enjoy like that commentary. Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot that Jack was the lawyer for Batter, which is it's just ironic.
It's so gross. It's so sick.
Yeah. Did you like do that job to like learn from it, I guess?
Yeah. I remember when they were talking about the Red Room, and when he made Grace paint all of those paintings off of the victims, he was like, I come in here to like feed off of it, which I was like, okay, like chill out. Like that was a little too I think Jack though is a very interesting character. Like, yeah, I hate him, but he is like every sadistic like characteristic, like psychopath, like he's very calculated. I'm thinking of just Criminal Minds and all the buzzwords I've learned from, I feel like I'm a profiler. But yeah, and then like when we learned about Jack's, sorry, I know we're shifting from Millie, but when we learned about like Jack's childhood and how he killed his mom.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Can we talk about that? Because like, how old was he? Like 9?
Okay, but wait, do we know that's true?
That's true. We don't know, because psychopaths are.
There was like one comment made by Grace where she was like, I don't even know if what he said was true, because he could have been making it up to scare me.
I believe he did it, to be honest.
I don't know how you become so psychopathic without killing your mom and sending your dad to jail for it,
That's just absurd.
Yeah, like I would have loved if we could have learned more about Jack's upbringing, and like just more about that dynamic, because like we don't even really know. I just feel like, back to your comment, Mare, about earlier about how you're like, I don't care about the characters. It's like, yeah, because we don't like know a lot about them, which is like fine, because you know, this is just supposed to be like a thriller. We're not in like a deep dive, like a fantasy or something like that. Usually thrillers aren't like we learn the backstory of every character, but like at the same time, I think like Jack's psyche is so like one of the most like for me, because I love like true crime, like I'm always binging it. I'm like, oh, I would have loved to like learn more about him. But yeah.
Yeah, I think if it was gonna be told in first person, like it would have been maybe interesting, maybe scary to like get a point of view from Jack, or just like an easier way to do that would just be right in third person. But I think it would have been interesting because I would have loved to know, like, I would have just loved to take a peek into his mind as like just the psycho that he is, to just see like his feelings towards Grace and like his feelings towards the whole situation, his feelings towards Melanie, just the way that he like reacted to life, I guess. I don't know. I think that would have been interesting to see.
I feel like this book would have been better told from literally any other perspective because, like, to be honest, I think like Jack's would have been really cool because like we could see how he rationalizes things and like what motivates him to do the things that he does. And like Millie would have also been a really cool perspective because she's the one who kind of saves the day and is giving Grace the plan to kill Jack in the end. So I think that it would have just been really cool to do something else with it. But yeah. I want to say like I don't think like thrillers necessarily have to be very characterized because like the point of them is to build that suspense in the reader. But I think for this book in particular, it does not work because it relies so much on you caring about Grace and what she goes through. And if you don't feel connected to her, like I can't feel for her situation. And that was like the biggest disconnect for me. So usually in thrillers, I don't mind if there's not like a lot of characterization, but this one relies so heavily on it that it's like you can't skip that step.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and about like the narration, like I'm thinking about the guest list, and I read that.
Yeah,
like,
I haven't read it. Don't spoil anything.
I won't. I'm not spoiling it.
Okay.
Don't do it. I read it like 2 months ago, and I loved that book. I gave it a 5 stars. So Reagan, I really hope you enjoy it. We'll have to talk about it. But how that story is told is just in the different characters talk. So we're getting like a multiple perspectives, which I feel like could have worked in this book. Like it would have been cool to switch back and forth from Jack, and it could be in first person, but you know what I mean? I feel like that would have just worked so much better.
Yeah. I think the pieces would have come together better if we had like different perspectives from different characters rather than past and present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the present or the past, like I was like, it was useless to me.
Yeah.
You could have just pretended like this was the present and then just talked about everything because that's kind of what she did. I don't know. It was weirdly told.
Okay. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I think towards the end, speaking on the past and present, it like switched. Do you guys?
I know what you're talking about.
With that, I got to a point where I was like, wait, am I reading the past or the present? And then I flipped back and I was like, oh, I'm in the past. And I was like, no, this is the present. And then I don't know, like I feel like if you're going to do the past and present, it needs to be a clear line. And I think for me, it was like all the way until that point where I think that's where she wanted us to not know about like the pills and everything and like leading up to that, because I think, I don't know. There's somewhere I wish I could find it, but like I literally was like, what am I reading? What tense is this in? Like,
yeah. Well, right. Which like, it would have just worked better if we were in just one tense. Like just, I would be interested to read more of her works because I think she, like her story, like this is a good story. I just don't think it was told correctly, you know?
I will not be reading more by the
You're like, I hate her.
I just like it didn't do it for me. So one and done.
I feel that.
I feel like this is her like most hyped book too. Like I don't even
see her debut, which is interesting. I'm like, maybe she gets better, you know? Like that's my thought.
What other books did she write?
I don't know, I'm gonna pull up Goodreads. But
yeah, I'm interested.
I did really like a redeeming quality. I did really like the last page of the book when it was like Esther was like she had a red room, right? or like her favorite color was yellow, right? Like I was like, that was a cool. But that's like the only thing that I loved about it.
Yeah, I liked that too, but I don't know. I didn't love.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I didn't love the whole trip to like Thailand, like to like fake that. I mean, I think that was like well thought out, but it just seemed it wasn't like climactic enough for me. Like it was like a slow burn climax at the end, which is just like not something I'm used to, I guess. But I say I'm not used to. I've read like 4 thrillers in my entire life, but so I don't know. But I don't know. I didn't love the way that it ended necessarily, but I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah. She has a lot of books, actually. She has... Okay, I'm going to read off these. I don't know if y'all have heard of them. The Breakdown, Bring Me Back, The Dilemma, The Therapist. Have y'all heard of any of those?
I feel like I have another book of hers that I want to read, but I don't remember what it was. Mm-hmm. So probably not going to read it.
Yeah. All of her books are rated like 3.5. So they don't, which is like not that bad.
But isn't this one rated like pretty high?
It's 3.95, which is, yeah, I know we were talking about that in our Discord, how we were like, wait. I was reading what Shannon said. Yeah, I feel that. But we were talking about in our Discord about how, like, we were just confused by such a high rating. You know what, actually, I'm going to go back. I just exited out, but I want to read, like, I mean, y'all can, like, talk about something else, but I want to, like, try and figure out, like, people who did like it a lot. I'm like, why? You know, why?
Yeah, I went and looked at reviews, and, like, I still don't understand. I still don't have the capacity to understand a higher rating. Like, I just don't know. I can't think of anything positive.
Okay, well, I do have a question while we're waiting on Carah. So this was like a question that was in the discussion at the back of the book or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it was like, do you think that it's weird that none of Jack's friends found anything wrong with like their marriage, or like didn't, like they weren't suspicious or anything? Or like it says, and everyone Grace tries to reach out to readily believes Jack's explanations. I know we talked a little bit about that with like in Thailand. Do you think that it's because we're inclined to believe the best in people, or to believe men over women, or believe the last extreme situation? But I don't know. For me, I was just thinking like for Diane and Esther, I know Esther like picked up on it, but for Diane specifically, like I just don't understand how you can be friends with this chick and like not see that like something's not right. And like we're humans, so like obviously if their marriage looks so perfect that nothing is ever wrong, like down to like the food is perfectly temperatured by the time it gets to the table, like stuff like that, like I don't know. For me, that was kind of like that was dumb in my opinion. Like, why was there no more red flags from any of the other side characters?
I think that I have a lot of thoughts on this. One, I do think that it comes down to a lot of times people just don't believe women, and that people are inclined to believe, you know, what the man tells everyone to believe. And especially when Jack like goes to them beforehand, he was explaining like her situation. But I think that like it comes down to people just don't, like, it's sad to say, but a lot of times people just don't care to look and care to carefully examine situations like this, because people would rather pretend like everything's okay and not have to deal with the situation. So I think like part of it's just like human nature. Like I obviously want to believe the best in people, but I feel like a lot of times people just want to turn a blind eye.
Yeah, like it's more work to like try to figure out what's going on, you know, than to just ignore.
Which is kind of a cool commentary now that we're talking about it. But it reminds me of this case that I was just listening to about this Australian family, and they had like 13 kids. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of this, but like they literally had all their kids like chained to their beds. Like this is a real life, like this happened. Like we're starving them. And they had neighbors, and neighbors always thought that it was really weird that they never saw them. And then one time they like saw them like through the window, and they were all like walking in a circle, like super, like it was just super creepy. No one ever said anything. And like that actually happened. So to like agree with you, Meredith, like literally, yeah. What's the psychology term? It's like
bystander effect.
Yeah. People are more inclined to not do anything than to do anything, which is why I appreciated Esther, because I think she was trying at least to do something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, did you find something?
Yeah, it's actually really funny. Like I'm looking at the people who rated it 5 stars and like, this was the most thrilling psychological thriller. I was so scared, and I was like, did I read a different book? Like, am I like numb to scary things at this point? Like, I don't know.
I mean, I can see how it's scary because, like, for me, when I'm reading a thriller, I think I'm more likely to be scared by something that could actually happen. Where in contrast to like paranormal stuff, like haunted houses, like that's not really scary to me. But like in this context, like this is unfortunately like a sad reality that women have to face. You know, they have really controlling husbands, and while it might not be as extreme as it was told in this book, it can be for some people. And so to think about that reality and to be put in Grace's shoes, that's why I wish like I had more feelings towards her, and why I wish I cared more deeply about her, because I think that this book could have been a lot more powerful than it was. But like if I was in Grace's situation, like that would be terrifying. And so to think about that is scary to me. But like, did I actually feel scared when reading this book? No.
Right. That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, like it's a scary concept, but I just don't think the writing made it scary.
Yeah.
Something that I'm reading what someone said is that they wish we could have seen Jack's reaction to knowing that he got fooled and that knowing that he was going to die. Like that's kind of like sick, but I kind of would have liked to see him be like, oh shit, I just got played by my wife. You know, like that would have been really like, or like letting Grace see that, because Grace, you know, was in Thailand. I just feel like that would have been cool.
Yeah, also actually speaking on the end of the book, I was confused, and I want to know if you guys like understand what was supposed to happen, but did she expect him to get out of the room? Because she was confused. Like when Esther told her that he was like in the red room, she was like confused, I'm pretty sure.
I'm not remembering.
Was she acting confused though? Do you know what I mean? Because she couldn't tell if Esther knew yet. Because this goes back to what we were talking about, how like B.A. Paris was trying to like convince.
Yeah, but at this point, why would she need to convince us? We already know he's dead.
Yeah, I mean, I think her intent was for him to die in there, because she dropped him in there and then locked the door behind her and then ran up, and that's when she left. So she had to know. But I guess I do.
I think what it was is that I think she thought that the pills were going to kill him, and then she found out that he died of dehydration. Maybe that was it.
Yeah, like he didn't die as soon as she thought. But yeah. I do remember her being like, "Oh, what if he knows a way out of the box?" I don't know.
Oh, well, no, maybe not, because it says, how did he die then? And Esther's like, from dehydration. And then it says, I summon a look of shock to my face, dehydration. So she like knew he was going to die of dehydration.
Yeah, that's how it reads when you say it like that.
Yeah. Something in here, I swear, something I read, I wish I would have marked it, but I was like just confused by that. But what bothered me a little bit was like, how are the police going to look at this situation and not think that Grace was involved in any way? Like, how do you look at this man and think that he's not a psychopath and that his wife wasn't trying to like get away from him?
Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to talk over you, Meredith.
Oh, you're fine. I was just going to say, like, we don't know what happens after the book. Like, the police may think that in the end. It's just kind of left open-ended in that sense. So,
right.
Yeah, which kind of bothers me, because there's no way, because remember how she explained to the police, because they asked her about the box, and she explained to them, it's where he went to like get to like get fired up for his job. And I'm like, no human being does that. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a therapist, like you're not going to go into a chamber of people who are like depressed, like that doesn't, to get fired up to help your client.
Honestly.
What'd you say?
Jack might.
Yeah.
Right. You're right. Jack might, but like the police definitely.
Like she's not trying to let the police know that he's a psycho. Like I think, which is also interesting that she was just going to let him go down as a good man, and she had to play the grieving wife.
Right.
Might get caught.
I think she did need to save her ass.
Right. That makes sense. Also, a question at the end of the book, which was really interesting, was are these questions written by the author, you think?
Or are there the discussion ones in the back of the book? Do you have?
Okay, well, I have like this little grayed out page stuff back here, and I thought that they were discussion questions. Yeah, okay, here it is. The reading group ones. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh, yeah, you have the same ones.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go to like I don't know, it's like 2 or 3 pages from that page. But there's like 10 questions, and where's the one? Oh, question 8 says, did you ever think that Grace might be an unreliable narrator, or that she might be making everything up? If so, at what point? And I was kind of like, what? Was that a question?
The only time that I thought that, I was like, oh, maybe this is gonna be a like, because I was like, there's no twist to this book. Maybe that has to be the twist, not saying that thrillers have to have a twist, but I was like, maybe she is lying, but that wouldn't make sense. Like it really, if you like logically, that wouldn't make sense because you can't rationalize what Jack said to her. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't know. I just, go ahead, Mary.
I never thought about that, is all I was going to say. I feel like with this book, I'm missing something because like when I look at the high reviews, I'm like, did we read the same book? Like you said earlier, like I just like, I feel like there's like talking about it. I realize there's more commentary to it. So I'm wondering like, what else did I miss? Because y'all are also bringing up a lot of like really small details that I didn't even think about when reading it. So it's just interesting. Like maybe this is a super profound book and I'm just dumb.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's like profound or that it's like phenomenal, but I think there is like when you break it down, I don't know. I feel like normally when we break down books, I like lower my rating, but I'm not gonna like change my rating because I'm pretty set at a 3. But I think when we talk about it more in depth and like some of the discussion questions, like obviously like evoke kind of a conversation that is important to have. And I think the commentary of this book is actually pretty good, but I think because it took me sitting down to talk about it for an hour that I had to get to that point.
Yep.
I don't think it makes like a quality book. I feel like you have to be able to finish the book and be like, oh my God, like I came to that on my own. Like I was, I don't know.
Absolutely. A book's ineffective if its commentary isn't at least somewhat obvious.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like the only reason I didn't give this book a 2 and I gave it a 3, I might give it a 2.5, I don't know, I haven't decided yet, is because I've never read a book like this that gave away the tag, the twist at the beginning, and I thought that was really cool. Do I think it was done well? No, but I thought it was cool. Like I thought, I haven't read a book like that, and I was like, that's interesting.
No, yeah, that makes sense. Well, I guess this last question, I can kind of guess what y'all's answers would be, but it just says, did you find the ending satisfying? Did you find it just? Wait, why is the question like missing the rest of it? Did you find it just? Okay. Oh, just like was justice served?
I mean, I'm never gonna say it's okay to kill someone, but obviously, like Jack really put Grace through it. So, I mean, I was kind of rooting for her to kill him the entire time. So I was happy that like that was the resolution. But I mean, didn't really care. Again, not much to say.
Yeah, I don't know. Go ahead, Carah.
Siri. I think I did like the ending about just like with Esther. I feel like that one line of her being like, yeah, I thought so. I thought that was kind of cool. But it does suck, and I was left feeling unsatisfied that no one else got to know how horrible of a person he was. Like, just Esther and Millie and Grace know.
Yeah, like, is Grace gonna go to therapy or like what? Because she's gonna need some. Like,
she needs it, but like, that's a whole other book. Yeah,
that's the next book. That's part 2. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, again, maybe this is just, I normally am not like, oh, I would have much rather the book went this direction, because I don't think I'm like a good thinker, I would never write a good story because that's not a strong suit of mine. I'm not creative. I don't come up with that kind of stuff. But this was the first book I ever that I was like, oh, I would have much rather this happened and it looked like this. But I don't know. I just think it would have been really cool if, Esther would have found out through like the book, and then they kind of like worked together, and then he didn't die, but they just like got justice for her, and he like got exposed. Like, I just think that would have been like crazy, but obviously that wasn't the direction that she wanted to go with this book.
Or they both killed him together. That would have been. Have y'all read? I'm not gonna spoil it, but have y'all read? It's such a long title. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Reading. Okay.
I really like
really good book. Honestly, if I hadn't, well, it might be a book we could talk about, like do for a book club, because it is horror.
Is it scary?
Well,
I'm already so nervous about December because Mare read No Exit, and she said it's so gory. She thought she was going to throw up.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. You would hate that book.
It'll be fine. Like, you'll be fine. You can just skim over some of it. Not all of it, unfortunately, but
yeah, I wouldn't listen to an audiobook.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not gonna make that feel any more real than possible.
So I forgot we were reading No Exit in December. I'm so excited. Oh wait, were we allowed to say that?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I
So I'm kind of nervous about that one, but I wanted to read I don't even know what it's called, The Southerners.
That's called The Sky to Slaying Vampire.
Thank you. That one, it does sound good, and that's like some people's like favorite book of 2020. Like, I asked on Instagram on like a poll, I was like, or not a poll, it was like a question box, and I was like, what's your favorite book? And I had like 3 people tell me that that was their favorite book. I was like, wow, interesting.
Yeah, it's like it's probably like top 5 for me.
Interesting. I haven't heard like super high praise for it, but I've heard good things. So
yeah, I'm not sure what books do you primarily read, Meredith?
Everything. I don't read one genre or another.
Okay. I think you should check it out. I mean, it's something I've never read before, and I really liked that book. And I know we're talking about behind closed doors, but really quickly, I really like that book because it does have really cool commentary about class and race, but in gender, but it doesn't really sly. So like you kind of have to read between the lines, which that's just a personal thing that I like. Not like you have to sit down for an hour and discuss it like we're doing now, but just more like the author said one thing, but then it was meant another way. Does that make sense? So it's just a really good book. Yeah.
It's on my TBR, so maybe I'll have to prioritize it.
I think you should.
Maybe that'll just like be our January book. We're making plans on live YouTube, so you guys can our professional meetings that we have for this book club.
Right.
But yeah, do you guys have any final thoughts? Anything you wanted to say that you never got out?
I don't.
Meredith's like, get this book away from me.
No, I just like my head is empty. I have 0 brain cells right now.
Especially for this book.
I think the only thing I'd want to say or ask, I'm not sure, I can't tell how many people are watching at the moment, but if they have any questions or like any of their thoughts, if you want to pop them in the chat.
Yeah, I'd love to see what you guys think.
That's my only thought.
Yeah.
Reagan, what about you?
Let me look at my note because I made a small note.
Did you tab this book?
Yeah, well, I put 4 tabs in here.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm gonna tab this one up. Oh, I did green for foreshadowing and then yellow for annoying. And
So the whole book is yellow.
yeah, I should have just done like one big tab. But there was like some foreshadowing for me, but I think like, I don't know if it's because I had read this before and I knew it was coming, or if it was because her hints were like way too obvious. But like there was a point where she's like, "Did you like my parents?" And he's like, "They were perfect." And I was like,
"Oh yeah,
like, for you to like kill her." I mean,
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's really it. I just tabbed for annoying, like the places where it just didn't seem realistic. Like Millie falling down the stairs was like my biggest pet peeve. Like, how did he know? How did he know that she wasn't going to get down to the bottom and be like, brother, like, why did you push me down the stairs? That was like dumb to me, in my opinion. Like, I just think that was unbelievable. So we already kind of talked about that though, but those are the places.
Yes.
This is really so funny.
Literally me, like me with Harry Potter. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna tab this up. The only thing I tab, because my favorite character in Harry Potter is Ron, the only thing I tag.
Why are we literally the same person?
The only thing I tab is just cute one-liners by him, or like funny one-liners. But I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna tab for themes. I'm not. No, I'm not.
I'm so obsessed with him. It's like actually unhealthy, probably.
Yeah, like, you should like talk to your boyfriend about that.
I know. I'm like, do I love Ron more than my own boyfriend? I don't know.
I mean, I understand.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Some quick announcements for you guys. Next month, we are reading A Deadly Education by Naomi and Novik, and it's so beautiful. I'm so excited.
Look at this.
I know. The gold flap is what gets me, honestly.
Yes.
The gold and the black, like that is just such a vibe.
So vibe. So much vibe.
Such an aesthetic. So anyways, we're reading this book. Ow, I just hit myself in the head with it. We're reading this book next month, and you should join us. It was on sale on Amazon a little while ago. I don't know if it still is, but if it is, you should pick it up and read it with us. I have linked below the time and date of our next live show. It should be on Carah's channel if we can figure that out. And that will be on November 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern on Carah's channel. Hopefully, if not, we'll let you know. But that will be for A Deadly Education. And lastly, we have a Discord, and that is in the description below. You can just click the link. But if you don't know what Discord is, it's an app where you can chat on like servers. And so we have a server, I guess, for the Prose Before Prose book club. So if you click the link, you can join that. And we just talk about the books that we're reading throughout the month. And yeah, that's all I have. Do you guys have anything else?
Thanks, Mare, for being here. We appreciate you.
Everyone go subscribe to Mare, and then go to her videos and watch them all, and then follow her on Instagram and Twitter and everything.
You're really hyping me up.
Of course, we have to. So yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. This was so fun. We hope to see you guys next month for A Deadly Education.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.